Ron was the consummate information source for all things reimbursement and for helping hospitals, healthcare organizations, insurance companies, states, and even constituent organizations to help sort out what it is that they needed to do to allow PAs to practice to the utmost of their ability and to achieve and receive appropriate reimbursement for the things that they were doing. There were times, here in Michigan, he camped out in Lansing, I can't tell you how many times, trying to get a little bit of piece of legislation passed through rural health clinics. The bottom line with Ron, and the reason for all of his corporate knowledge on developing rules and regulations that made sense, and for reimbursement policies that made sense and stuff like that, it always came down to the patient. It was always about the patient. It's never about Ron. It's never about gaining turf for the PAs. It was never about who has the right to do this or that or the other thing. The bottom line was who's going to provide care for the patient, and we believe that PAs are perfectly capable of doing and should be allowed to the maximum of our ability. And that's where it all came from. I believe that's where it was born, and that's where it resided for Ron's entire life. And I caught that bug from him. I don't think Ron was in denial about his illness at all from day one. He and I talked about it rather extensively. We met face to face a couple of times a year, but we talked on the phone frequently. And he was, last time when he first had the diagnosis of cancer, and we knew that it was a stage 4, we knew that he had metastases to the liver. I called him up and told him how horrible I felt, and he just didn't take in stride. He says, we have to play the cards we've been dealt. And I don't think he was in a state of denial about it, and I think he was very accepting of his illness and knew in the end that he was very likely going to lose. It did not keep him from fighting and making every effort he could to try and beat the cancer, but because that was his way. He would never give up. He was one of the most tenacious people I've ever known. And one of the things Ron did in his practice in Grant was to ensure that he had outreach to people who otherwise had difficulty obtaining health care. And one of the groups to whom he reached out most often were the Amish, who have a significantly sized community in the area up there. It was difficult for them to hook the horse and buggy and come into town to Ron's office, so he very often went out and made house calls at the farms of the Amish. And they didn't have health insurance, and they didn't have much money, and sometimes he would barter, and sometimes he would just donate the services. But he truly cared for these people, and they understood that. And one of the most beautiful things that happened during Ron's funeral was that the entire Amish community turned out for his funeral. And in the middle of the service, they rose in a 100-voice Amish choir sang hymns for Ron. And that was truly incredible, truly amazing, and truly a word of thanks to a great man.